Hi friends, illness, doctor, investigation, pathology, diagnosis, treatment. Yes, I am talking of the final diagnosis by Arthur Hailey. Just in case you've not read this book, you've missed something in life. At times, even an ace pathologist might send his findings or his slides to two experts, where one might say the tumor is malignant and the other might say the tumor is non-malignant. What does the chief pathologist, Dr. Joseph Pearson, do under these circumstances where one expert is saying that the tumor is malignant and the other is saying no, it is not malignant? Now, Dr. Joseph Pearson happens to be the chief pathologist in this book, around whom this entire book circulates. Pathologist is the person who gives the final decisions, the final diagnosis of any ailment, basis which the surgeon decides whether surgery is required, whether the leg needs to be amputated, or surgery is not required. So that is the critical function of a pathologist. So this entire book, Final Diagnosis, is based around this pathologist. In Final Diagnosis, Hailey shows the tension-packed drama and the mammoth complexity of a great hospital, a world where one faulty diagnosis, one irrevocable error precipitates into an appalling tragedy. So that is the complexity of this novel, and Arthur Hailey has done a wonderful job in writing this. And this book was written way back, a long time back, and I'm sure some of you must have read this book. But even for those who have read this book, I'm sure this recap is going to be interesting. In this live wire drama, there is a continuous struggle between Chief of Surgery, his name is Kent O'Donnell, and other surgeons, and Dr. Joseph Pearson, who happens to be the chief pathologist in this hospital. So there is a continuous struggle. Now, most of these surgeons, they want their reports just the day they give the sample, and they are always in a hurry, whereas Dr. Pearson takes his own time in submitting those reports. But then there is something about Dr. Joseph Pearson. He was once a very ace surgeon, or not a surgeon, a pathologist or a doctor, but over a period of time he had slackened, and he had lost that touch in him because he was too involved in his day-to-day work, and he didn't keep count of the latest inventions and latest technologies that were hitting the medical world, where he should have continued with his reading and keeping himself abreast, but with the technology which he didn't do. See, friends, pathologist is often known, as said in this book, pathologist is often known as the doctor the patient seldom sees. The book also describes the struggle of a young pathologist. Now, this young pathologist, his name is Dr. David Coleman, who happens to be Dr. Joseph Pearson's deputy in terms of restoring the standards of the lab. The labs are in a very vintage kind of a situation. So when Joseph Coleman joins this hospital, he thinks he should refurbish the labs and get in new technology, and there is an opposition by Dr. Joseph Pearson at that point in time, because he thinks that he knows the best and there is no point in recharging these labs and making them modern. Arthur Hailey takes us to this not only to this hospital, but he takes us beyond the reception room into those emergency wards into those labs, into those discussion rooms, into those the various other facets of the hospital. He takes us into where we will not even dream otherwise to go. And what goes around in the medical world is so visibly clear in this particular book that your eyes open when you read this book, and at times you feel that oh God, I didn't know all this happens in the medical world. And the type of bustling words that go around to reveal the hidden corridors, and the book is really amazing, and I am sure anyone who picks up this book, it's a real page turner. The site of action, the name of the hospital is 3 Counties in Burlington, and it has many characters. As you can understand, it's something like it's around 400 pages book, which I think it's, to be very precise, it's about some 378 or 80 pages. It's a it's a marathon book, and it covers everything in detail. A trademark of Arthur Hailey. I'm sure you must have read his other books also, where he covers every industry in great detail. But let me come back to the characters of this book. There are many, but I'm going to take you through some important ones. First, of course, I've told you is Dr. Joseph Pearson, who's more referred as Dr. Joe. And then you have Kent O'Donnell, who is the chief of surgery and also the head of the medical board. And then you have David Coleman, I've already mentioned, he happens to be the number 2 in the pathology department. Then you have Dr. Charles Dornberger, he is the baby's doctor, pediatric. And then you have Lucy Granger, she's the orthopedic surgeon. Then you have Hilda Strogan, she is the chief dietitian. Dietitians abroad have a very important role to play, unlike in some of the hospitals in India. Then you have Auden Brown, who is the chairman of 3 Counties Hospital. Then you have another retail magnate who keeps funding this particular hospital. His name is Eustace Swain, and he has a daughter also. And for a very brief period of time, Kent O'Donnell, who happens to be a bachelor, kind of has a affair, as a fling with this guy's daughter. And then you have Vivian Luberton, she's a trainee nurse, and then you have Mike Seddons, who's a doctor who's going around with Vivian. Then you have Mr. and Mrs. Alexander in this. Alexander is again working for this particular hospital, and they have the second child in this hospital, and unfortunately that child doesn't survive. Now, if I come to the language of this particular book, it is very sharp, it is precise, not at all verbose, but it's very descriptive and to the point. Sentences are almost like changing scenes in a film, and at times the book is very emotive also, and descriptions are brilliant. I mean, especially if you take some of the descriptions in the autopsy, pathology, surgery, they are par excellence. I have a feeling Arthur Hailey must have gone and sat through these surgeries and must have spent long hours with these surgeons and doctors to get the right kind of vocabulary which he has used in this particular book. Just another thing that I noticed was that the chief pathologist out here is also is in charge of the autopsy department, and where there are scenes when he's doing an autopsy, and at the same time he's also doing clinical tests, which was something I was not aware of, so I'm bringing forth that point. While coming to the end of this program, there's one thing which this book really conveys for the doctors is through Dr. Pearson, the chief pathologist. It says that no matter how busy you are, for a doctor, it is very important that he should continue being abreast with the medical bulletins and inventions that are coming through from time to time. Otherwise, the doctor is going to get redundant. So that's the caution, and I guess that is important for any career today. And of course, the nail-biting the episodes of this book are the description of Vivian Loberton when she is diagnosed of cancer, and when Alexander's that is Elizabeth Alexander and her husband, when they lose their second baby in the hospital because of a faulty because of an error in one of the tests, because of which Dr. Pearson Dr. Dornberger resigns, and Dr. Pearson is also forced to take a back seat and retire. And that is when he realizes that had he kept abreast with his the medical the knowledge, inventions, this would not have been the state of his affairs. Then last but not the least, this has got nothing with the book, because it was part of that, and it's a reality which Arthur Hailey has pointed out, but I would like to place it here, is that these doctors and the medical staff in the hospital around those times were huge smokers. All of them used to smoke like mad, and when I'm sure that even at that point in time when they met their patients, they must be lecturing around that smoking is really bad for health. So friends, this is why I always say that an author or a writer will always place forth the correct situation that takes place around the time he writes his novel. So that's all for this particular book. It's an excellent book. I would give 10 out of 10. And if you ever get a chance to read this particular book, don't miss it. It's a long book, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy, and it'll take you to a different world, and that is the world of medicine. So friends, if you like this particular program, kindly share it, subscribe our channel, and soon we'll come out with another good book for you. Till then, goodbye from Book Talk.